Hi, welcome to the Mosaic Minute. My name is Jeff Bounds, and I am super excited today about having two special guests on here that I'm super proud of to talk about something that's extremely important in harmony with UKG. One of our intentions here at the Mosaic Consulting Group is to make sure that we're able to be the best partner that we can be, and most importantly, really be able to be in alignment with the vision of where UKG is going. And for those of you that attended Aspire, or those of you that have seen some of the recent webinars that UKG has put on, one of the most important things right now for UKG and their clients is to create great places to work. And what's exciting about what you're going to hear today is this is a example of an organization, Mosaic Consulting Group, that truly has created an incredible platform for great places to work. And today we have Kristen Sandler, who is the president of the Mosaic Consulting Group and also the culture warrior. And then also Jessica Fuller, who is our director of people and culture. And super excited. So before we get started here, I just want you guys to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody that's watching today a little bit about your journey. Kristen?
Love it. So just thank you, Jeff, for the introduction. I'm Kristen Sadler, been with Mosaic for 7 years. You're going to get to hear about our journey and our story about how we became a great place to work, which truly did start even 7 years ago. And I started out as our director of people and culture and then have made my way into operations and overall Mosaic. So get to sit in this role for the last 2 years, which is exciting. I'm really excited for you guys to also meet Jessica, who's been part of the team for many years as well.
Good morning. Nice to meet you. I'm Jessica Fuller. I work on Mosaic's team as our Director of People and Culture. I've been with Mosaic for about 4.5 years, and I've worked in HR across a variety of different industries, but I'm just really passionate about tech and services specifically.
Fantastic. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started now with the webinar. And we look forward to the content. And at the end, we're going to also have an opportunity to be able to answer questions.
All right. So just to get us kicked off, as Jeff mentioned, when we were at Aspire in Vegas about a month and a half ago now, and especially for any of you that were there too, you heard that message around great places to work. And so Jessica and I just so enjoyed not only hearing the speakers and the conversation around it, we also very much enjoyed getting to see Great Place to Work Hub and just really being able to see the journey that we've had and the progress that we have made within our organization is just as much matched by UKG. And so it was such a cool opportunity. We sat there and looked at each other and said, oh, when we get back, right in the middle between the holidays, let's get in front of the entire audience here and be able to tell our story about how we became a great place to work. And hopefully it inspires others to take that leap of faith as well and either create that strategy or go for that certification. But it's really about the environment for your people. Right. So we're going to get started here on the next slide and really tell that journey. You're going to hear about our Mosaic story. You're going to hear about how we actually became a great place to work. But more importantly, how do you actually apply this to your business? So let's start with that journey. See this amazingly beautiful team. That is a team I'm so darn proud of. Our Mosaic team has been along this journey for quite a bit. So as I mentioned, I started 7 years ago with Mosaic. And I was hired in as our Director of People and Culture Warrior. Yes, that's a real title. I get that question a lot. The last part very specifically. It's actually a part of the journey and a part of that story. When I first interviewed for the role within Mosaic, I sat across from Vicki Hill, our CEO and founder, and the very first question she ever asked me was, how do you protect the culture in a growing business? Just take a moment and think about that. The CEO of, at that point, a 45-person organization, her main question for her head of HR was, how do you protect the culture as it grows? And we were very, very fast, still to this day, a growing year-over-year organization. As you can very much see, we're well surpassed 45 people. And to me, that was the first part of the journey is, wow, I have somebody fully bought in at the top, which we'll get into in a little bit. And so as we progress in that journey, when I first came on board, we were already in that process of trying to become a certified great place to work. And that original certification actually didn't come through. And I said, you know what, give me 2 years. Let me build a strategy around how we create and maintain this culture, how we continue to focus on our team and focus on our people. And let's do this again in 2 years. Let me get the foundation here and just continue to work. So luckily for me, I was surrounded by some incredibly smart people, not just within our people and culture team, found people like Jessica as well to come on board, but I was surrounded by amazing HR, HRIS, payroll people who had a lot of stories and information to share with me and be able to take some of those nuggets from all of these early day team members and infuse it into the strategy. And so 2 years later, we actually went through the process again, certified very easily, which was amazing. Working with Great Place to Work was actually quite an exceptional experience, very easy to go through that process. I think the hardest part was waiting for the results, waiting for that period to go through where everybody took their survey. And we're 3 years in a row, Great Place to Work. In fact, that's not where the journey ends. Even this year, seeing that 95% overall Great Place to Work certification score from our team just means the absolute world. We've watched it progress year over year. And the details that we get within that certification that you yourself will see is here are the different aspects that you can hone in on and be able to continue to cultivate. And so part of this journey too was passing those reins on 2 years ago to Jessica, who has continued to take it and make it better year over year as I took on a different role within the organization. So let's get to that next slide where it really talks about our culture. And this is that very, very first thing for any of you looking to go through that process and looking at your own internal organization. So first and foremost, it starts at the top. Again, there's a reason why my story started with being interviewed by our CEO and founder. And Vicki asked that question, how do you protect, how do you maintain that culture in a growing environment? And so what I found, though, is I thought I was going to be starting from ground up. I was so wrong and very much appreciate that. What I found is this organization already had its 4 pillars. You can see that: do the right thing, own it, teamwork, and wow. Those were already developed and established as our pillars for how we operate, how we behave, how we interact with clients, how we interact with each other. And we also had our core purpose. You see that: to make a difference and inspire confidence. And I don't know about you, but for me personally, I was able to really connect with that. When I asked Vicki and her then executive team, like, how did we get to this? It was so amazing to hear about the very intentional sitting down and really working through, what do we want those pillars to be that we all lean on in the organization? And what's our ultimate purpose of why? And so for that ultimate purpose of why, in order to get there, they had to ask themselves over and over and over. I think it was like 9 times of why and why and why. Continue to peel back that onion. And where they got was, at the end of the day, the way that we know we've been successful is if we've made a difference, whether it's with our client, whether it's with each other, and that we've inspired that confidence around the system or inspired confidence around the work that we do and with each other. And so the point here is culture starts at the top. Leaders, take a look at yourself, take a look at how you operate and how you behave and the conversations you have. You set the example for your team. And so it starts there. And I know, Jessica, you, I believe, also had something to add there about how you continue to utilize these values within the organization.
Yeah, so once you have these values, it's really only half the battle. You need to use them and put them into action throughout your business every day. They can't just be something that's hung on a wall in the office. We don't even have an office to hang them on a wall in, but they need to be more ingrained and intentional throughout your business processes in general. So we use them in our reviews. They're part of our new hire orientations. We infuse them into every training program that we do. They are a part of our rewards and recognition process. And we also hold leaders accountable to them every day. And then from there, let's talk a little bit about process. If you could go to the next slide for me. So once you have that culture and values identified, then you align it into your people strategy. And this is really twofold. You have your processes and you have your experience. So we started by identifying the employee life cycle and identifying all of the areas where it ties to the overall business strategy. And this truly serves as our compass. We started by building a foundation in each one of these areas, and now we're consistently iterating to make each area better year over year. And an example of this is develop. When we were first starting, we had simple basic trainings, and then we started investing in some smaller trainings through outside partners. And then last year, we invested in building our entire training programs ourselves. And now this year and into next year, we're looking at how we can continue to take that from where it is today and bring it a step forward so that it can stay up to date and accurate with our business year over year. The other half of this is really on the employee experience. And this is where we focus on moments and we look at all of our processes through the lenses of our team members. So we track this thing called FORD, which is family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And we have this in all of our employee files. And every time I'm talking with someone or one of our managers is talking with someone, we can go log that into their file so that we know they are going on vacation to Ireland next year. We know that they are, their child is going off to college. So that way, when we're interacting with them, we can make sure that we're having real human interactions about things that actually matter in their life. And then to take that a step further, we also use that to reward our people. So this helps if we're sending a promotion gift to a team member, we know whether to send them a cake or a bottle of champagne because we know what they're going to like more. And that way we're able to make our people feel like people and not numbers or employees, which is not the feeling that we want to cultivate in our business. All right, so let's talk about the next slide. Here's where we're going to start really talking about culture. So this ties right in with our employee experience. And when I'm saying culture of care, this means our DE&I initiatives. This is how we give back to our community, what structures we have in place to support our team. So I'm very big on inclusive practices where we can all bring our whole selves to work. We're a fully remote company, so we can all have flexible schedules. So if someone needs to leave at 2 o'clock to pick their kid up from school, they can. As long as they're getting their work done, it doesn't matter what time they're sitting at their desk. And I'm also really passionate about pay equity. I feel confident to say that we don't have any pay equity issues based on race or gender in this business. And that's something that we have spent a lot of time making sure that we can ensure. I also try to be active in our community. So these pictures here are from Tesserae, which is our annual company event where we bring everyone together in Nashville. This past year, we had an exercise where we played with canned goods and we created structures with canned goods. And at the end, we donated all of this food to local charities and food banks. It was like 900 pounds of food that we were able to give back to those around us. We also donate when we have profitable years, we will donate portions of that profit to charities that we allow our team members to pick and vote on which charities we will be donating to also. And Kristen, do you want to add anything here about caring for clients?
Yes, this is a passion of mine as you're hearing all this investment into your people strategy and your process, into how you care for your employees. And one thing that we have found, the actual correlation, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to say this to you, is when you care for your team and you show what care looks like, what it feels like, what it should be, they also have the full empowerment to be able to take that back to their clients. So I know that when I have a happy team, I also have happy clients. And so the way that we care, just the FORD that you heard from Jessica, that is something we also cast for our clients. And our team members have the ability to care for our clients just in the exact same way. And so that is something where I, as you can imagine, have gotten that question. What's the return on investment? How does this tie back to revenue? How does this tie back to overall business, profitability? And that is something we've been able to share. We've been able to share and show how the progress of our care for our employees actually helps reduce turnover and what that actually does to the bottom line. And more importantly, it shows up in our CSAT. It shows up in our client feedback with how amazing our team is, how they listen, how they communicate well, how they care for them as if they're within their own team. And so that is the piece where this is what I love. It's a full culture. It's not just how you treat your people. It's how your business also is expected to behave. Right. And so that's, I will go on to like the next slide, which really talks about how we measure that engagement and how it connects everything. So a few years ago, this was a passion project. In fact, I was at the very tail end of my master's program. And one of the things that I had the opportunity to do was really study different research around leadership. One of the items that really came up was around employee engagement and the role leaders play within that. And so I fell in love with a few different items. This is one of them. You can see the book called Engagement Magic. I have an entire webinar and presentation I've done around this. I'm so happy to connect as well if you are interested to learn more here. But I took this along with 2 other pieces of research, kind of combined it together and came through with a very simple way to measure engagement. And I know this is through our blogs as well. Even the questions of what we ask, we have available for anybody to use. So feel free to go and check that out as well. It really comes down to this. This is what we measure. We've measured it for 3-4 years now, Jessica. Are we on year 4? Like time is again escaping me here. And we still ask the same 13 questions today that we asked 4 years ago, and being able to see the progress and how it correlates. I'm going to say statistical correlation because of Jessica. She came through and provided this overview. But because of it, we're able to actually see the correlation between our engagement scores and our turnover. And then the cost of our turnover, we know that exact cost for our business. And we can physically see that as that turnover cost reduces, the impact it has to our revenue stream, which is really amazing, right? So simply this, we measure our success. When I got here 7 years ago, we had one measurement, and it was our eNPS, that infamous question, rate 1 to 10. How do you would you recommend this business or this employer to a friend or family member? And so as we advanced it, this is essentially what it came down to. We wanted to focus on that transformational aspect of our culture. So we measure the meaning. Do I actually get to provide meaningful work, right? Do I find meaning in the work that I do? Do I have autonomy in order to be able to perform those actions? Do I have growth opportunities? And that is both upward and sideways, right? Are you growing and developing? Do you feel that you're making an impact? Can you see the impact that you're making to the business, to your clients? And then lastly is that connection. Do I feel connected? Do I feel like others have my back in the organization? Do I get regular feedback from my supervisor? And so within this, we've been able to track that correlation for the last 4 years, which is pretty amazing. So essentially what it does is, as this has gone up, it's because of the action planning we create. We have a 30, 60, 90-day rule, and you have 30 days from the close of that survey to be able to take it back to your team to say, we have results. I hear you. You have 60 days to come back and say, okay, here are those results, and 90 days to be able to physically show action. This is what we're doing with your feedback. So we take these survey results and we actually intertwine it into our people strategy year over year. Jessica just actually did this 2 weeks ago when we were hosting our leadership annual planning, and said, okay, this is the feedback that we've had, and this is actually how it relates to our strategy. And this is what we're going to do this year to be able to show the team that we're going to advance the growth just a little bit more than we did last year, right? And this is the expectation of those results. And so this is something that you can do within your business, how you measure employee engagement, which is different from satisfaction, as you can see there. And this is about the action planning and bringing it back to leadership and to the team to be able to really show those continued efforts towards your culture. Did I miss anything, Jessica? Like you know
No,
this just as well as I do? Yeah, love it. All right, so then let's take it next to the next slide here, where it really relates back to that leadership accountability. Because again, we started off with, it starts at the top, right? This is not just an HR initiative. This is something that has to be embraced across the whole organization. And so it does start at the very top and at your foremost of your senior leaders. And so even though you may be sitting there as an HR professional, or maybe even not, maybe you're somewhere else within your organization and you're thinking, how can I be able to champion this, right? How do I champion this? How do I bring it back to the organization? I've also see where like culture teams may be sitting somewhere else besides HR, whatever that looks like. At the end of the day, it's about having the accountability within your leadership team within, and as Jessica mentioned, this is in our performance reviews. It's also in our conversations. It's in our day-to-day. In one of my leadership meetings recently, I had a director who raised his hand, and he just owned it. He physically just was like, I've missed this. I've got it going forward. This is what I'm going to do next steps and how I'm going to come back and report to you. That's all it took. He exemplified the core value of own it. And I picked up the phone right after and I was like, insert name here. Thank you. Thank you for doing that so publicly. You just represented one of our core values. So it requires living it out and bringing acknowledgement to when it's there, but it also requires some difficult conversations at times if you feel like a leader is not. And I personally believe too, this is peer-to-peer. It's not just the boss's job, right? To be able to have those conversations when it comes to culture, every person plays a role into it. And so Jessica, I know you wanted to touch a little bit more on managers and what that looks like there as well.
Yes, yes. So outside of that director and executive level, it also has to trickle down through every manager across the business. And I'm a firm believer that frontline managers are truly a key to becoming a great place to work, because these managers are really your executors of your people strategy. They're usually responsible for hiring the best people, retaining their people, identifying who to promote, having the initial compensation and rewards conversations, holding people accountable for performance. So I intentionally make sure to stay close to all of our frontline managers in a partnership with my team. At least someone from my team is meeting with every manager in this business at least once a month. Because that way we can stay aligned on where we're going, so they know what the intent really is before, but in performance reviews. So it's not just a piece of paper that they have to do. We can coach them through hiring decisions. It keeps us connected on the day-to-day of the business in return, so that we can then implement that into our people strategy and make sure that that's aligned with what our team and our frontline managers actually need. So from there, let's talk about how to put it all together. If you could go to the next slide for me. So this is what we worked through, and you can take this and apply it to your business. And you can start by looking at the top. Who are those leaders that are exemplifying your culture? How can you replicate that throughout your business? Look at your processes. How can you take your people strategy and align that with your business, align that with your team experience, and then from there, use that towards building that culture of care. Look at your DE&I initiatives. Look at how you give back to the community and how you take care of your people truly as people. And from there, take that engagement that you're seeing, measure it, iterate on it, an action plan so that we can continue to move the needle for your people. And then leadership accountability, because we can't build a culture if we don't have full alignment across the business also. And then also make sure that you're connected with those frontline managers, because they're going to be the keys that you need to be able to build your Great Places to Work certification. So that is that. What questions do you have for us? Are there any questions out there that we can answer?
One of the questions, as just in case people are out there typing in the moment, and I'm sure those questions will be passed along here. One of the questions that I always get, Jessica, is what was the time frame that it took? And again, we touched on this a little bit in the conversation here. We were really building the foundation. There had not really been a lot of HR presence before. And so the reason why it took me a little bit longer than it probably would take you today is just because I was building out the true foundation with a growing and new organization. So if you are at an established organization, realistically, it may be just as simple as going through the certification process, seeing what those results are. And whether you pass or you don't pass, at the end of the day, you're going to get results back that tell you how you can move it forward. And so by no means do you need to feel that it needs to be perfect before you go through that process, because you can do that today. But just from a time frame, that's usually the one of the questions that I've gotten in the past.
Mm-hmm. And to add on to that, there is no silver bullet. Like, there is no one thing that you can do to become a great place to work. It's in every interaction that every team member has, every leader has every day. And it's all about building the right conversations around that to be able to get there in time.
Yeah, and I think that to tie it all together, we've had quite a few people watching us today on LinkedIn. We want you to know we really appreciate that. If you're not following us, please make sure you do follow. One of the things you guys were talking about earlier that really resonated with me is the fact that a lot of times organizations may not put the investment into this because they feel like they can't measure an ROI. And I guess the biggest thing that I would challenge everybody that's watching this today is the proverbial, what is the cost of doing nothing? And in any organization, no matter where it is, people are your most valuable asset, right? And I think when individuals inside of a company realize that they are moving towards something, and I think everything that Kristen and Jessica created here at Mosaic, we've seen some major impact points on our key metrics year over year and what this has been able to do. So don't think it's just something that's out there that, sounds good. I mean, it's something that's really, I think it's a non-negotiable. I think moving forward, it gets more and more important for organizations to be focusing on how to do this. So I think another thing that would be interesting is you're watching this today and you may say, well, this sounds great. I mean, I love what Kristen and Jessica were talking about. How do I instill this inside of my organization? So I think one of the questions I would like for Kristen, for you and Jessica to answer is, if somebody's listening to this today, and this is maybe a goal that they have for 2024, how can they leverage Mosaic to be able to make this a reality inside of their organization?
Absolutely. That's a conversation that we're already having with our clients, which is so fantastic. And again, another reason why Jessica and I found like this wanting to come out and express the story, because you never know how it resonates with someone that says, me too. I'm also doing that. Or, man, I want to be able to call this place a great place to work because I already feel like it is. And so again, there's an aspect of like building a strategy around just your culture and creating an environment where people thrive to be there. They feel like they're growing. You're attracting talent. It makes your recruiting process way easier. Let me tell you, there's the other aspect there again that I just mentioned, where nothing's holding you back from going through that process. It's I feel very inexpensive to be able to just go through the certification process to be able to get those results, because once you have that tangible, you can physically start to build a plan of how to continue to iterate it over and over and over again and become a little bit better. So it's intuitive as well. Like, it gives you a lot of data, but at the end of the day, the way you can take this back to your organization is it starts with a conversation, right? Have we ever tried to go through the certification process? Do we feel that our team finds this place as a great place to work? What it could do to our business if we were that, certified, and can be able to say that. But it all starts with that conversation. So let's start there. Jessica, do you have anything to add?
I want to say one other thing, because I think I was like resonating with Farah here. So we have Farah. It says, hey, does Mosaic Consulting Group provide training? Yes, we do. So if you have any questions around this, Farah, Kristen, if you or Jessica will be kind enough to drop your email in the chat, you can definitely connect with us, reach out and email. Be more than happy to set up a discovery call, kind of find out where you are today and potentially how we could be able to help you. We would love to be able to do that. And we appreciate that you found value out of this. Then also, Stacy had a question if there will be a recording. Yes, Stacy, there will be a recording. Just do me a favor, go ahead and drop your email down in the chat just to make sure that we have it. And we'll be more than happy to send this back to you so you can watch it at your leisure. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Marticia. Thank you for the congratulations. Yes.
Yeah. Hi. She's a past Mosaic. We love her.
Yeah. So I guess we know you. So thank you for the congratulations. Yeah. We really appreciate that. Hey, Stacy, thank you for putting your email in. So for everybody else that's watching right now, don't be shy. This is the greatest thing. I will tell you, like, I'm a big fan and big believer of content. I believe the more that you can listen to, the more that you can learn, the better it is. However, the key component of this is, if you do have questions on how to execute it, now is the time when you can get in front of, obviously, two people leaders that have been able to do this at a pretty high level. So we're going to open this up for 3 more minutes. So if anybody else has any additional questions, we'd be happy to answer them. And as they're waiting to put those in, Kristen and Jessica, if you were sitting in their seats right now, what questions would you be asking yourself?
Jessica? Yeah, I will say this: the one, for those of you who may be the one in charge of this strategy, there was something so amazing by being able to hand this over to Jessica and say, make it better. There was, by all means, make it better, right? It was my flavor, it was my version, but I know that she has the ability to look at it with a more analytical mindset. And with her advancement, I mean, again, she's the one that found the statistical correlation between our turnover and our engagement score and the way that it relates back to revenue. And so this is the part too, where you got to think a little bit outside the box in your own style and pull in other styles to be able to make it a bigger and rounded picture. But don't be afraid to let others in and hand it off, because again, there's something about that inclusion, diversity of thought, where others are going to see it differently than you. So
you just brought up something else super exciting. That's why we love doing this. We do this internally all the time, and we have our team meetings, and we collaborate, and we riff on things, and exciting things come up. Kristen, you just said something that I'm a big advocate of, is write this down. You can't grow what you can't measure, right? So one of the things that we did internally is we did have the opportunity to leverage data and look at analytics. So number one, find out where we are today, because if you don't know where you currently stand, you can't correct it. And then number two, when you do put these things in place, how are you actually able to see the growth and to see where you're progressing in your organization? Because I think the first thing that I would say, and I think both Kristen and Jessica would agree, it's not an overnight process, right? It is a marathon, and it's getting the small wins, but then being able to reflect and look back. And I think that's what we've been able to honestly do this year is look back in our organization and see how far we have come. And then I think once you see that, it's iteration of what you've already done to continue to make it great. So I think we're done with the questions, but I'm so happy that we were able to provide impact to you here. So on behalf of Mosaic, I'm going to have Kristen Sadler take us out here, and we want to wish all you guys happy holidays. So Kristen, the floor is yours.
Thank you guys for coming. I hope you found a little nugget in here to be able to apply to your business. I love the questions that we got, even just around your own personal growth as a leader. So thank you for investing in yourself as well. We hope you have a great holiday, and my email is in the chat. So feel free to email me. We'd love to continue the conversation. Happy holidays. Thank you.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everybody. Take care.